The Republican Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives blasted his fellow Republicans yesterday for voting to acquit State Attorney General Ken Paxton on 16 articles of impeachment alleging corruption and bribery. In the Speaker's view, the evidence clearly proved that Paxton had abused the office of the Attorney General to help a campaign donor and real estate investor named Nate Paul in exchange for favors. Much of the evidence came from 8 of Paxton's former top aides, many of whom went to the FBI in 2020 with concerns about alleged bribes, with Paxton's former personal aide saying he heard a contractor working on Paxton's home suggest that Paul was paying for the renovations. There also were concerns about alleged abuse of power, Paxton interfering in a lawsuit against Nate Paul, issuing a legal opinion that benefited Paul, appointing a special prosecutor and leaning on local law enforcement to investigate Nate Paul's wild and baseless conspiracy theories about folks out to get him. Concerns about an alleged cover-up, Paxton using a burner phone and a fake Uber account to hide communications with and trips to see Paul, as well as a woman who worked for Paul with whom the married Paxton allegedly had an affair. The Republican-led State House investigated all this alleged sleaze, and ultimately a Republican-led committee in May concluded that the chief law enforcement officer of Texas had violated multiple laws. The articles of impeachment that committee voted for unanimously are really quite something. The charges include directing Attorney General's office employees to take steps to intervene in a lawsuit from a charity against Paul in order to hurt the charity, retaliating against whistleblowers, and some charges that relate to the delay of the securities fraud indictment of Paxton in Dallas in 2015 when he was accused of defrauding investors in a tech startup, charges to which Paxton pleaded not guilty. The Republican-led House voted to impeach Paxton overwhelmingly, 121 to 23. But yesterday, the Republican-led Senate voted to acquit him on all counts, despite all this evidence, after what the Republican impeachment manager said was intimidation by the MAGA wing of the GOP. And it is impossible to believe that these state senators would have voted the same way were Paxton a Democrat. Here's how the conservative Dallas Morning News editorial board responded, quote, "We have come to a place of great danger where the plain evidence of corruption can no longer overcome the majority party's determination to protect its self-interest and its agents. The philosophy at play is that the ends justify the means and the means don't seem to matter," unquote. And this all comes just days after Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah announced he would not be seeking re-election next year, expressing concerns about where the Republican Party is headed in the shadow of Donald Trump, himself no stranger to an impeachment.
He is the leader of the greatest portion of the Republican Party. It's a populist, I believe, demagogue portion of the party. The Trump wing of the party talks about resentments of various kind and getting even and settling scores and revisiting the 2020 election.
Attorney General Paxton plays a prominent role in that part of the Republican Party. He's the one that wrote that nonsensical 2020 lawsuit trying to throw out the electoral votes of several states that Joe Biden won, a document full of absolutely false and deranged claims in the Republican Party that Mitt Romney is warning us about, one he fears is authoritarian and lawless. Attorney General Paxton, no doubt, has a very bright future.